Hi, Tamal. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
First of all, congratulations are in order. Your book just launched, Roller Coaster, An Affair with Banking. And all the congratulations to you. Now, you took us on a roller coaster ride on the SBI performance this week, if I'm not mistaken. The column talked about how SBI has performed, how its performance has been. Now, in that roller coaster ride, what you mentioned was that the SBI stock at 30 has given you 33% returns, which is one of the lower ones in the compared to the other banking entities. How did the public sector banks perform last year?
Yeah, you are exactly. I mean, you said it's the lowest. So imagine 33.17% growth, the lowest. So how did the public sector bank perform? Yes, I'm reading out. It's the best year in the history. Okay, UCO Bank at the top of it, 147.31%, followed by Bank of Baroda, 126.54%, Punjab and Sind Bank, 110%, and Indian Bank, 104%. So 4 banks out of 12, 11 nationalized and State Bank of India, 4 government, out of 12 government-owned banks, 4 banks have given return stock more than 100%. Public sector bankers never had such a great time.
Can we expect the performance to continue this year as well?
Yeah, I would like to believe. So not in this much because the base was so low. So the low base, I don't want to bombard with numbers, but the base was low. State Bank of India base was pretty high. So the others were very, very low base. Some of them actually got into penny stocks. UCO, IOB, you call them. Definitely it will not, this kind of quantum growth will not continue, but they will continue to do well, at least this year.
To give a perspective for our viewers, how big actually is SBI? Because many people, when they talk about SBI, they know it's the biggest bank in India. But how big is it actually?
Yeah, you need to, yes, actually it's the proverbial elephant. And that's why you always use the cliche that finally the elephant is dancing kind of stuff. But you feel not the full animal. So I'll give you certain things like SBI is now, the global balance sheet I'm talking about, not only in India, it's close to 52 trillion. Globally, it's the 50th largest bank, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of assets. Its share is Indian GDP is 20%, 20% of Indian GDP. It's now exactly, it's the size of the Poland GDP.
Another thing when I think about SBI is what comes to my mind is those lakhs of employees. Are employee costs a drag for the bank now or no?
No, yes and no, because if you look at the SBI's massive branch network and the operational, yes, there is a huge number of employees, and you didn't mention the technicalities. The cost to income ratio is pretty high, not comparable with private sector peers, but not even some of the public sectors at lower cost. So I think as it getting to more technology orientation, like right now we are talking about 97% of the transaction happening outside the branch network. 75% all transactions are digital, and how is it doing? It's pretty good. It's a lifestyle app. It has 54 million customers. So not too many banks in India have 54 million customers. As it progresses on the path of digitization more and more, the number of employees will probably come down.
What are the new areas SBI is getting into? You talk about technology inclusion, which is there, but there are certain new financing options that SBI is presenting. What are these?
Yes, it basically, as I mentioned, if you look at this, it's now the corporate credit. I'm talking about not the global book. If you look at the global book, then the corporate will be much higher. But if you look at the domestic book, corporate credit is now, I think, 36 and 64. That's the corporate retail. And the new areas they are getting into is this, for instance, the supply chain financing, cluster financing, etc. As you know, these are the buzzwords now in Indian banking. About 2 years back, people were not thinking on those because they were essentially doing balance sheet financing. But here you do cash flow based financing.
Isn't there a risk to lending more to MSMEs, given that even RBI reports have flagged these loans repeatedly?
Yes, absolutely. I think the bank is aware of that, and which is why bank has actually floated a sort of subsidiary, which they are not discussing about it. I understand that there's a issue with the trade unions, etc. They're not liking it, so they are calling it, which I also mentioned this. It's a sort of high tech or the new call centers. Even the focus is on the collection, more collection efficiency, which is why you will see we have seen that SBI's net NPA now less than 1%. Unfortunately, customer is not the king when it comes to banking. Even the best of banks, they are giving great returns to the investors, and they are rock solid when it comes to resilience of the balance sheet. RBI is very happy, but customer service no good. So it's good that State Bank of India is looking into it, and they have formed an agency which many other banks also does, which is called the Net Promoter Score. The moment you have a transaction or get out of the banking or the bank branch, you have been asked, like airline people ask us, that how has been your experience. So it's finally SBI is doing it. It's good.
Moving on to the last question and taking you away from the topic, with SEBI allowing the central government to classify its stake in IDBI Bank as public, what are the implications, and does it mean that the government has set the template for the future?
No, it's just nothing but the technicality, right? Now, once this divestment takes place, which is in the process, and which will happen over the next few months, government stake will come down to 15%, and LIC stake will come down to 19%. Now, under the SEBI norm, a listed entity need to have a minimum public shareholding of 25%. So right now, public shareholding in IDBI is only 5%. So government 15% will be clubbed with this public shareholding, and it will be under the subject to certain norms to fulfill this minimum public shareholding.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Tamal, for being on the show. We hope to talk to you again next week and hope to discuss your book as well. Congratulations are in order once again. Thank you for coming on the show.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.
I am the blue of the limitless sky. I am the inspiration that led success soar high. I will achieve, I will fly high. I am the I in SBI.
I'm backed by the nation's trusted bank, SBI, the banker to every Indian.